So let's do the classic 2 for 1.
Right.
As you look through the history of Magic, there are so many different ways that creature enchantments sort of get to either come back or they get an extra boost or an extra benefit. And equipment is one example of a generation of, if you like, creature enchantments. But sometimes it turns out they're just 2 for 1 card disadvantage.
The Umbers are terrific if they stick.
Yep.
That's certainly the tension of them is when can I play them?
And that's what makes for great gameplay, where you want tension. Is this going to resolve? Because if it does, I've got a big edge. If it doesn't, I've just given you a card.
The McKinley Griffin has to stay at home.
Mm-hmm. But the knight goes in, so Paolo down to 7, facing Noah at 13. Paolo adds another token.
Yeah, Paolo's actually down to 5. He took 5 from that Vendetta.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the back end that punishes you when you cast Vendetta.
Yeah.
You'd like it just to be 2. Could I choose the power this time? No. 2-5 means you lose 5. So Paolo doing the math. Bunch of tokens, Undo Giant, the Bloodthrown Vampire, the Wildheart Invoker that's going nowhere but could be sacrificed to the Vampire. He lays land number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh.
Brood Warden. Let's make everything 2-2. Let's go in. Smash. Now what have you got? McKinley Griffin back on D. Tapped out. Noah's looking at McKinley Griffin in his hand. Looking at Regress in his hand, but Regress costs mana, and it's mana that he does not have. At 13. Paolo again doing the math.
He has to block the Bloodthrown Vampire here.
Which is exactly what he does. So I'll sacrifice my Wildheart Invoker that's basically doing nothing.
And my freshly made Awakening Zone token.
Yep. So no bones broken there. And now it is just a Knight of Cliffhaven sitting there for Noah. It can come in, but it cannot come in for lethal as things stand. Noah is down to 7, Paolo at 5. Noah has another potential blocker for the Bloodthrown Vampire in McKinley Griffin, but it costs 4. If he lays a land, he could then also cast Regress. I mean, in theory, can he attack? Let's see how much of an idiot I am. Can he attack with the Knight of...
He's down to 7 right now.
Yeah.
So he plays the McKinley Griffin, he plays a land, he attacks with the Knight.
And then next turn...
He's got to deal with a 4-4, 3 2/2s.
But he regresses the Brood Warden, at which point the 2/2s aren't.
Sure.
At which point...
And so then the blood... Right.
But he blocks the Bloodthrown Vampire.
Right.
Then he gets to regresses the Brood Warden, so he takes none from the tokens, and then proceeds to level up the Knight of Cliffhaven and win. Is that feasible? How much does he need for that? There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in there. And instead, we see
a Cryptologist.
A Cryptologist, which is pretty true, and that enables him to have mana up for the Regress if that's what he wants. He can also make the McKinley Griffin this turn, and then save Regress for the following turn. He's edging towards an attack, and in it comes. Paolo still can't deal with it, so Paolo is down to 3. This is an edgy one to open up the semi-final.
Levels up his Cryptologist.
Good. Paolo lines it all up. And Noah decided he wanted to have that Regress up for whatever.
Yeah, absolutely needed to have that card up.
Yep.
11.
7-3, and Paolo turns them all sideways.
Block Vampire.
What?
Block Vampire.
Okay. Block the Vampire. And then regress the Brood Warden.
Take 2.
So 2 gets through from the Ondu Giant. Noah goes to 5. Is Pala just going to replay the Brood Warden? Let's untap those, shall we? And let's think for a minute. I'm at 3.
Gains 4 with a Jedi Life Strider.
Because otherwise he can die to the knight, so... Has the regress bought Noah enough time, or has the Jedi Life Strider done the same for Paolo?
I think the answer is no, it has not bought him enough time.
Okay. And Noah scoops them up. And that is 1-0 to Paulo Vida Dama de Rosa of Brazil. Someone's happy about that. I don't know whether you can hear in the background.
Yeah, that's not obnoxious.
Oh dear. I don't think Noah's best pleased with the Brazilian singing in the background. So as the players sideboard for Game 2, we showed you earlier the top Europeans, the top Americans at this Pro Tour. Let's show you the list of the top Japanese players. And we begin with Kotaro Otsuka, who of course made the top 8. And then you have to go down to Yuta Sasaki. He finished 10th on 36 points. And our third player, which was right up there, was Yoshihiko Ikawa. And he was in the top 8 of San Diego last time round, wearing exactly the same outfit. He came, I don't know whether it's his lucky shirt. He looked very smart, it must be said. And he ended up in the top 32 in 24th place. But as we go further down, compared to the Europeans and the USA, you'll see that the numbers are starting to drop further down. Taisuke Ishii finished 33rd. He was the 4th best Japanese player. Yoshitaka Nakano was in 44th. As we head down onto the second page, you find one of the biggest names in Magic, Shuhei Nakamura. He was well down the field in 51st. I mean, that still gets a handful of Pro points. I think it's 4 for top 64. But then as we go down, Toru Inoue 56th. Shu Kimura 61st, and then Tomoharu Saito was the 9th, and then we go all the way down to Akimasa Yamamoto. So all in all, the Japanese have not had a great weekend so far. We're going to take you to the back table, Enema, but BDM, you got something about the Japanese, no?
No, I want to watch Guillaume Matignon and Andrea play.
Okay, let's get to them. We've got Andrea Girola, the 18-year-old Italian, going up against Guillaume Matignon of France, the 18-year-old from Italy, from Milan, up against the 29-year-old Matignon from France. There you see the two players. Matignon is on the left of your screen, Team Lotus Noir, and on the right of your screen is Andrea Girola.
Andrea has just played a Palaka Worm. He's got a Wild Heart Invoker that's been narcolepsied, and he's threatening to have 8 mana.
He's got a little token, and on the other side, Matignon, that looks like a Venerated Teacher's come down. Is that Champion's Drake?
Champion's Drake, a Skywatcher of Depth, and a Training Grounds.
Yep. And we'll bring you the live totals as soon as we can on that one. And there we are. We have Guillaume Matignon leading by 1-0. He is on 12, and Andrea Girola is on 11. So 1-0 to the Frenchman, the man that BDM picks to reach the final. Venerated Teacher gets in the way. It's done its job. Goes away.
Yep. And Guillaume is done.
Yep. So equaliser there for Andrea Girola. You caught the back end of Game 2. We'll bring you Game 3 of their match.
Yeah, Palaka Worm is just pretty brutal there. There's not that many cards in. See how many ways that Guillaume has to deal with a Palaka Worm. He has Induced Despair. He has 2 Vendettas, which is not necessarily the most exciting way to deal with it. He has a Narcolepsy, but he had just played the Narcolepsy on the Wild Heart Invoker just before we tuned in. Which also, as you pointed out earlier, did not turn off the ability of the Wild Heart Invoker, which was pretty relevant.
I can still get to 8, and so I can still go, yep, right. I'm enormous. So that is 1-1. Matignon will certainly not be phased. He has seen it all before and been around Magic so long, and that's one of the reasons he was so thrilled to get here. So Matignon and Girola will go to a best-of-3 scenario for a place in the Pro Tour final. Black-blue levelers against green-red.
I was looking through Girola's list, just, you know, his removal is 1 Heat Ray.
Spawning Breath.
1 Wrapping Flames, yep. 1 Spawning Breath. So
and we're done.
Yep, and that's about it. So he's really got to pick his spots with that removal against...
But that is also true for Guillaume. I mean, he has Induced Despair. He has a Deprive, if you want to, you know, think of that as a removal spell, which is perfectly fine. He has Double Vendetta, Narcolepsy. So he has 5. And Girola has 3 of sorts, but it's only really Heat Ray that you get excited by. Everything else is just 1 damage. Spawning Breath for 1.
Spawning Breath and Wrapping Flames are a little bit of a stretches.
Yeah, hopefully removal. Right. I'd like to think I'd find a home for this on one of your guys. But, I'll tell you that Paolo Vida Dama de Rosa is underway in their next game. We'll get back to them in
he just played Vendetta on Noah's Cryptologist.
And there you see the Saito slap. Guillaume Matignon just whacking himself about the face. You don't expect to see that on a Pro Tour Sunday when there's no Tomoharu Saito involved.
Coral Helm Commander from Noah with and he levels it up once on turn 3. Giving you the update. Not really much of a draw from Paulo.
So there's been a ton of events away from the main event here. Of course, at public events you have Pro Tour qualifiers, you've got Legacy, Vintage, just any amount of stuff. And here you see from Thursday and Friday some of the events that have been going on. Now, some of the names that we'll know there, Jorg Unfried is a regular on the European Grand Prix circuit. He made it in to the Pro Tour. So you play all night Thursday, basically, and that brings you back on Friday. BDM, I know you spent some time, there was a lovely piece done over lunchtime, in fact, we ran it, with Tom Martell.
Sure, Tom Martell's a New Yorker. He came over from California. I believe he's heading back to California shortly. For a job change. Longtime player, talked about this was his first Pro Tour since 2002, I believe he said. He had a pretty strong weekend. He did very well.
So you see the two-headed giant sealed. That's part of the kickoff for the multiplayer summer of Magic. There's all kinds of great stuff going on with that. We've got Plane Chase, Arch Enemy. Arch Enemy, by the way, I absolutely love the fact that you can play 1 against 3 or 3 against 1. You can play it either way round, and it's tremendous fun to do that. We see the Grand Prix trial winner, Sergio Vegas. He won a box of Rise of the Eldrazi, and 3 free rounds at a Grand Prix of his choice. And worth noticing that Jorge Muniz winning a standard foil set. That was on Friday. In a little while, we're going to come back to the public events winners, and I think you might see Mr. Muniz again. He's had a very profitable weekend. But we will get back into the action as we head in. There you see, starting Game 3, 1-1 between Matignon and the man just drawing and playing a mountain there, Andrea Girola of Italy. And he has made Warmonger's Chariot. And then that looks like Champions Drake. See Beyond for Matignon. That's something he's been doing all weekend in Block Constructed as they start out.
Champions Drake?
Is that what it is?
No. I'm saying you said he's playing that in Block Constructed.
No! See Beyond! Stop it.
Just to give you a little update on the other table.
Oh, hello.
There's a Transcendent Master in play with a Hyena Umbra on it.
Oh.
And it's just hit level 3.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah, that's pretty scary. It's so scary, we can't even show it on a family website. Let's stick with Guillaume Matignon and Andrea Girola in their Game 3. As Girola runs out a wall, red wall.
Is that a Rage Nimbus?
Or is it a Battle Rampart? Let's ask the audience. Battle Rampart or Rage Nimbus?
I cannot read that card on this monitor. Could also be a Soul Scourge elemental. I don't think so.
I don't think the audience knows either. They're all shrugging.
I think it's a Rage Nimbus.
It's a Nimbus. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being alive.
Vet Sentinel joins the team. Joins the Defender party. We have a fully level 6 Transcendent Master, joined by a Champion's Drake.
So, Matignon at 20, Andrea Girola at 19. That Vent Sentinel can attack as a 4-6 because the Chariot is in action, +2/+2, and lose Defender. So, level up for Matignon.
Attacks with his null champion.
One of his two, the pair sitting next to each other. And Girola just sitting endlessly patient. You can see his hands just not moving an inch, but he's not flickering an eyelid.
He's not flicking a card, which is unusual in the top 8.
Unlike a certain Brian Kibler, for example, who that man is going to get arthritis very, very soon. So Girola equips as we thought he might.
He's a little tight on mana. He only has 4 lands.
And that looks like a Vendetta.
One of the two. Nimbus.
Yeah, one of the 2 Vendettas from Guillaume Matignon.
What's an attack in the air? He'll be able to double level if he plays a land here and attack for 4 in the air with his Champion's Drake.
Again, noticeable. 3:30 in the afternoon. That's the first time either of us have said something like a little light on mana, a little tight on mana. All these players are never tight on mana. The mana is there. You can get to where you need to get to. Unless you're Girola at 3:30.
Played a Transcendent Master. Fully leveled those, got those Null Champions up to 3 apiece. Or 3 and 2. Attack for 4 with the Champion's Drake.
Venerated Teacher. The Transcendent Master's in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Venerated Teacher. I'm watching two monitors.
Stop it! And then we see Deprive from Guillaume Matignon saying, I do not think so. No Vent Sentinel for you. So Girola is down at 11 and starting to look like he's struggling here against Matignon here in game 3.
Scoops at the next level. I think we're going to, while they shovel up, I think we are going to try to go and check in on Paulo and Noah.
Yeah, let's get back there, because it's not every day you see a Transcendent Master at a gajillion levels. And whether we'll get there in time will be debatable. We'll see. As I say, a lot of public events going on around the building. And now Jorge Muniz has had a terrific weekend. He won that standard event on Friday and came right back on Saturday and did pretty nicely then as well. So we will be heading back to Paulo against Noah, as you see Matignon and his young friend, Italian opponent, sideboarding away.
And there you go. Now we're looking at a board that Noah's board. He has a Transcendent Master, Knight of Cliffhaven, Kabira Vindicator, and a Champion's Drake.
Heard that's probably pretty decent board position. Paulo on the other side, a couple of tokens, Dread Drone.
He's just holding the ground with the Transcendent Master at this point.
Ondu Giant, Dread Drone, couple of tokens for Paulo. And that Kabira Vindicator, of course, gives bonuses along the way, and you look at the scores, pretty tight despite the Transcendent Master. Paulo at 5.
We saw earlier off camera a Leaf Arrow trap, or Leaf. I want to keep calling it a trap. Leaf Arrow.
It isn't a trap.
It's not a trap. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a Leaf Arrow.
Yeah.
Took out a Coralhelm commander.
And it was something that we saw in the draft, that it was something Paulo did not want to get beaten by.
He prioritized that card.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
last kiss on the Champion's Drake.
Yep.
Doesn't kill it. Just kind of changes the math around a little bit. There's a Cryptologist.
Paulo scoops up his cards.
Noah evens the match up at 1 game apiece.
And one each between Noah Schwartz and Paola Dama de Rosa.
He put the Transcendent Master down pretty early, was able to slap a Hyena Umbra on it, which gave him all the time he needed to level that guy up.
So here you see the rest of the public events. This was all yesterday, and one of the big marquee events of any Pro Tour weekend is the bit where you fall off and then you try and get right back on the horse. And this is Pro Tour Qualifier Amsterdam, and really great story with this guy, Tom Rainey.
Yeah, Tom Rainey won the WPN championship in San Diego.
Yes.
Which gave him a trip to San Juan.
Not to play in the Pro Tour.
Not to play in the Pro Tour, but to play in public events.
Absolutely.
And he's taken full advantage of that trip to San Juan, Puerto Rico, played in public events, played in the qualifier, and has now qualified himself and won airfare to Pro Tour Amsterdam.
Yeah, so at the next one, he actually gets to come. So he will have gone to all 3 Pro Tours this year thus far. And for the third one, he will get to play in the main event. That's just an outstanding story. Kazuaki Kimura won the Zendikar block foil set in the Rise of the Eldrazi sealed event. There, standard again. Everyone else didn't learn, apparently. Jorge Muniz walks away with a 64GB. Now, that's not a misprint. That's not an iPod. That's an iPad. And I know that's a little device that you're quite fond of, BDM.
Oh, yeah, I really love it. Jorge Muniz, that's his second win in a major public event this weekend.
Indeed, that's right.
We saw him winning on Friday as well.
Yep, so the 2HG sealed, David Larsson, a former Swedish pro, teaming up with another Swede, William Lundberg, another Grand Prix trial, and then the Grom Relay. This is one of the granddaddies of the multiplayer events. This is the kind of event you see Mark Rosewater turning up, famously with Chameleon Colossus, getting it to 27,658 or some such. I probably got that number wrong, Helium maybe, I'm sure. But Rise of the Eldrazi foil set is a pretty nice thing there.
Pretty much, I think it was 17-player Grand Melee.
Yep.
Interestingly, they played sealed deck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a sealed deck Grand Melee. So
that's going to be pretty interesting.
Have you ever played in a Grand Melee, Rich?
Yeah, I have. I've cast Slate of Ancestry for